Then that's where we'll go. You mean the Forbidden
realize
Zone
Renans
that fucking
affect their own
Dohalim talked
kind,
about like
too.
30 minutes ago?
And yet, weirdly, none of them seem to mind. Am I the only one who finds that strange?
It is the way things have always been, so no one thinks to question it. You have experience in that regard yourself, do you not?
Unquestioning acceptance of your own servitude. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Even so, the quality of life here seems much higher than any Danon city we visited. I used to think it was impossible to build an ideal society without wealth. But I suppose having it doesn't always mean people are treated fairly either.
More to the point, not a single citizen seems to have even heard of the Red Woman.
What if she's not here? What if it turns out we're looking in the wrong place entirely?
It's still too early to say anything for sure.
For all we know, she might be able to blend in, move around unnoticed. I say we hold off judgment until we've exhausted every avenue.
Tell me, Dohalim, has that skill of yours got a name?
And what skill would this be, pray tell?
You know, when you're talking to people around town. The way they suddenly become putty in your hands.
I'm afraid I don't quite follow.
I do. It's called friendly intimidation. Look imposing and speak in a deep, booming voice, and presto, you'll have people wrapped around your finger in no time.
I would never stoop to such scandalous tricks. Any feelings of intimidation are solely in the eye of the beholder.
I'm just bookish and
So
well
there
read.
is a knack to it. How do you learn it? Can anyone do it?
Now you've got me curious. Is there special training to master?
Let's see. An obsession with being elegant is a must. Oh, and it helps to be old-fashioned, too. Bonus points if you speak in a way no one can understand.
If you've a bone
Oh
to pick
man,
with me,
he's
be
got him.
quicker to
She's
just
got
come
him
out and say
pegged.
it.
What? They look up to you, that's all. I'm just helping them along.
Why are you being weird all of a
Hey,
sudden and mean to me?
Let's cut into Alvin and Law all of a sudden. I can barely understand a word they're saying. And what's with the weird poses? Was it something they ate?
I hope you're willing to take the blame for this one.
I wasn't expecting them to take me so seriously. I'll go and have a word with them.
I like to read books and know how to talk to people. That's literally it. Oh, for fuck's sake, another goddamn cutscene.
With nobody left to run the show, I wonder what the people here are supposed to do. I mean, they're sovereigns up on the Renan homeworld, and all their lords were sent to Dana.
But Dohalim was a lord, right?
Only current acting lords have power. Renan society is quite strict about such matters.
Even if the other lords were still around, I doubt they'd be able to do much about the situation.
I wonder what they'd think if they were here to see Lenegis now. Balsif, Cannabelt, Almadria, and Volron. Now that I think of it, aside from Dohalim, we know next to nothing about the other lords.
Well, yeah, why would we? To us Danans, they were just enemies we needed to overthrow. Nothing more.
I know. But seeing Renans in their own city, going about their day-to-day lives, it gets you thinking.
It feels strange to imagine the lords living here too, you mean?
Yeah.
If you're that curious about them, why not try inquiring with some of the locals? Every lord in their household has their share of supporters here on Lenegis. And luckily for us, the people here are unaware of the events on Dana, which means they should be more inclined to talk to us.
Renans and their lords. What is this, a side quest? Lore. I love lore. You want to know which lord I support? Why? Are you out canvassing for someone? I'm with His Excellency Erwolsi Teldilis. You probably know him better as Lord Belsif. I know a lot of people consider him to be a giant brute. Believe me, I realize he can be an aggressive man. What these people don't realize is how much he looks after the members of his house. It's fair to say that House Teldilis doesn't enjoy much esteem. Those of us who serve it will be the first to admit that. But His Excellency always stands up against any who would mean us harm. Of that we can be sure. His efforts in the crown contest aren't only for his family, but to improve the standing of each and every member of his house. I owe much to His Excellency. I could never dream of serving any other lord. Oh well, he got burnt up by a giant fire monster.
Balsef had it in him to care about someone other than himself?
Hope you enjoy that knowledge.
Really?
It's possible.
What?
A change in
Yeah, it
position
burned him
can
up
do
really
much
good.
to alter one's perspective.
He disintegrated.
So even...
Lord Dohalim, you've returned. Ah, and I see you've brought aides with you. Do you remember who I am, my lord? Surely you must, yes? Not only do I support House Il-Karas, but more specifically his lordship personally. So much so, I've been trying to share my appreciation of his lordship to any who will listen. In fact, I was planning to publish my extensive writings on the subject through this very terminal for all to read and enjoy. But since the lines appear to be cut due to the recent tumult, I've been unable to upload them. I know, since you're all here, I'll just read them aloud. There exists a most handsome man, a man who radiates beauty, whose every word, every syllable is divine poetry. He hails from the famed house Il-Karas, and his name Lord Dohalim. Music is his passion, the arts his great love. The scores of boorish, uncouth men of this land cannot begin to compare to his magnificence. So refined and majestic is his posture, why the mere thought of it brings me to ecstasy. Goodness. Once he becomes our sovereign, Rena shall bloom anew, ushering in an era of prosperity for our grand civilization. Until that glorious day comes, I shall forever be praying for his victory, morning, noon, and night. Well, what did you think, my lord? I poured my whole heart into hoping to capture your essence. Wait, I forgot to mention anything about his lordship's love for collecting things. I must take this time while the lines are down to append it. Only then will my masterpiece be complete. Yeah, that's pretty much all we knew about him.
I
He
guess
loves
she
music and
intended
art
to
and
spread
shit.
it throughout all of Lenegus then.
Good thing the lines were down so she couldn't.
It almost sounded like she was praising them too.
Maybe there was more to the guy than at first glance.
I shall refrain from commenting.
You're talking about me while I'm standing right here? Or are you talking about somebody else? Well, I never. To think anyone would try to tear me away from House Valkyris. What do you want? Don't tell me you work for Lord Dohalim or that dreadful Lord Almadria, do you? You don't? Well, don't scare me like that. To answer your question, I come from a family that has served House Valkyris for generations. Indeed, I'm doing all I can to support Lord Ganabelt behind the scenes so that he might emerge victorious. Many think him to be a cruel man, but I insist they're utterly mistaken. Though I won't deny he can be strict, he puts Rena's interests front and center like no one else. Why, he advocates that rather than stay confined to Lenegus, we should get on with colonizing Dana and expand our horizons. That way, we will become masters of both worlds and overturn our current minority status on Dana's surface. And that is why he seeks to become our next sovereign. Tell me, is there a greater, more noble ambition than that? I think not. It is a pursuit of power for the advancement of all our kind. It is what makes him an exemplary lord and a model above all others. Though I was unable to accompany him myself, my two sons have been blessed with the honor of joining him on the surface. As their father, it fills me with endless pride. Well,
Ganabelt was so horrible to people.
you're in for
Yet he was invested in helping Rena succeed.
quite the surprise.
Doesn't that seem just a little inconsistent?
I'm perhaps
Quite the surprise,
biased
me
in this
friend.
matter, I admit.
That's level 54. And stuff in here is also level 54, so we'll wait on that.
However, in my mind, while all lords vie to become the next sovereign, they're also meant to serve as guardians of all of Rena.
It seems like Ganabelt also had people he cared about until the very end.
So why couldn't he
Well, because we're lower tier trash.
send that to us Danans?
Okay, so there's nobody out here. Lord Dohalim, I can't believe you're wearing those rags. So maybe there's a whole nother area where people obsess over the lords that I'm not seeing.
This area doesn't look as badly damaged as that other district we went through.
Indeed, the effects of Lenegis' transformation appear to be less pronounced here. Or, viewed another way, this area was simply luckier.
Pardon me.
This area falls under the sole jurisdiction of House Chineras. I must ask you to depart at once. Surely you don't claim to be ignorant of our famed house, ruled over by the esteemed Lord Almadria. If so, I urge you to listen well. In fact, I bid you listen carefully regardless. Have you ever noticed how in the history of Lenegus only a few women lords have emerged to compete in the crown contest? Many have theories as to why this might be, but Lord Almadria quashed the doubts of any naysayers through sheer might. In fact, not only did she usurp her father and previous family masters, she also removed her older brother to claim the seat for herself. She is a woman who stops at nothing to get what she wants, who gives her enemies nary the slightest opening to strike. Truly, Lord Almadria is a woman of talent. No one in all Rena better exemplifies the virtues of our nation's meritocracy. Soon the age of a glorious woman sovereign reigning over Lenegus shall be upon us at last. Yeah, well, she's dead. Enjoy that. Stabbed pretty hardcore by one of your very lords.
Some people here not only shared her belief, but championed it as morally right too.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it true. Too bad they couldn't see.
Happens a
through
lot,
her.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's happening? I don't get it. There wasn't a decree or anything to announce this like there always is. You're right, even if this was an accident, it's strange that we still haven't heard anything from the Sovereign yet. Do my ears deceive me, or are you saying that you don't trust what the Sovereign is doing? Blah blah blah. All these sheep don't ever think for themselves. Hey there, oldster.
Ridiculous.
How loathsome. I was just reading about Volron. Can I help you?
Okay.
I was always an ardent supporter of Lord Erwogil Hildress himself. Or myself. Were it not for his sudden death down on the surface, I likely still would be. In my eyes, Lord Erwogil is the true Water Lord. I don't believe for a second that he perished in some accident, like they say. As for how Volron runs Ganath Haros, don't get me started. I hear he enslaves not only Danans, but even his fellow Renans. We may live in a society where to the victor go the spoils, but his actions go against what we as a people stand for. Besides, just what sort of family line is this House Ignisari of his anyway? I've never heard of it until he came along, which means they must be among the lowest dregs of society. That such an ignoble lineage could suddenly produce an astral artist capable of ascending to lordship is unheard of. None of it makes any sense, not to mention all of the upheaval around here of late. What is happening to our people?
It seems like the people on Lenegus don't really know much about Volron either.
I remember being quite surprised when the Lord of Ganath Haros changed so abruptly.
Didn't you have any doubts that something suspicious was going on?
On the contrary, remember, we Renans are raised to accept everything at face value.
Yes, of course you are.
When you think about it, the families of Renan lords must see them differently than the rest of us.
Yeah, despite the brutality they're known for.
They must have had a lot on their shoulders, carrying all the weight and responsibilities of Renan society.
Renans live in a world where strength and power determine their position in the social hierarchy, so they tend to grow up fiercely competitive. But their loyalty to their people is also strong. It's what brings them together against outside forces, and nothing exemplifies that more than the Lords.
That's what makes them the guardians of all of Rena, so to speak.
Right. It's the same reason Balsif hated my guts, and Ganabelt went after you. Because we're threats to Rena.
Guess that makes you an even bigger oddball than we thought.
So, Alphen, have you gained anything from all of this?
Yeah. I think it's made me realize that the lords were all people, too. Balsif and the others, they all had their own circumstances to deal with as they went through life.
Yeah, but still, just because they had loved ones in their lives doesn't mean...
I know. What they did was horrible. I'm not trying to dispute that. But at the same time, they weren't incomprehensible monsters either. They were individuals, just like the rest of us.
I mean, they were incomprehensible
So I guess
monsters to us
what
because
I'm
we were
trying
the
to say
victims of
is-
their
You're saying that
incomprehensible
they weren't bad
cruelty.
because they were Renans, or because they were terrible
But
monsters. Even if they did terrible things, they were still just people.
Renwell.
Am I wrong?
Not at all.
I mean,
Being a Danan doesn't make you a good person. And being a Renan doesn't make you a bad one. I think that's something we've all seen.
Xion and Dohalim definitely make a good case for it.
And I'm going to keep doing my best to make sure I earn that trust. As a fellow human being above all else.
Human being? Are you guys humans? I just can't believe it. I don't know. I mean, it's just their culture, man. They were just raised to fucking murder us. I mean, you can't really hate them for that. I mean, they're just people.
I'll hold on to
Yeah,
that.
sure, I guess.
There's
Why not?
something I just don't get.
What is it?
The crown contest itself has always gone ahead as planned, right? In which case, the current sovereign of Rena should be whoever it was that won the previous contest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, who was it then?
Hanfried Milgras, the former
Who?
lord of Cyslodia, if memory serves.
So then this Hanfried whatchamacallem, he's the current ruler of Rena?
The last I heard, yes. Though, admittedly, I haven't actually seen him since the end of the previous contest.
You're saying that ever since becoming sovereign, he's never actually shown himself on Lenegus?
I guess over holocom maybe, but not in the flesh. Same thing goes for the sovereign that came before him.
Now that you mention it, I don't recall anyone ever visiting Lenegus from the motherland, sovereign or otherwise.
And that never struck you as a little bit odd?
When you live here, it's as if you're conditioned not to notice all these strange quirks and discrepancies. The question is then, by whom? And to what end?
A new Renis Alma is supposedly created to coincide with every crown contest, meaning each victor is awarded their very own. In other words, if that's true, there should be as many of the things out there as there have been contests.
True, but going on what we witnessed in Pelagian, it didn't look like the sort of thing that could be made to order. But if even the victor's speeches have been part of some grand deception, then where are they? Quite frankly, I'm not even sure what to believe anymore.
You and me both. Though we are Renin by blood, neither of us even knew that such a thing as a Dark Master Core existed, remember?
With any luck, the Forbidden Zone might give us some answers.
If
No
only
use
we could
standing
get
around
there in
here
a timely
chatting about
fashion.
them. Let's get a move on.
If only we could get to this Master Zone. I mean, Forbidden Zone. But, you know, we have to stop and talk about the Forbidden Zone every single time. I don't know. How could any of this happen? For years, Lenegus was a bastion of order and stability. Where did it all go so wrong? I don't know. Your little perfect society up here. How could it indeed? Here we go.
Doe?
Oh god, it's Faria.
Varia.
Varia? Isn't that the person that Avakir guy was...
But why are you here? Wait, don't tell me you've given up on the crown contest and come crawling back home from Dana already. Nothing to say? Even though you were willing to kill Tarnigan to secure your position as Lord, you still... Kill?
I'm here to take care of something. If you wish to continue this conversation, I only ask that you wait until I'm finished.
Oh, of course. You always did prefer to take the coward's way out. Even after 7 years and living on that Danon rock, you haven't changed one bit. But let me tell you, I haven't changed either. Not a day's gone by the past 7 years that I haven't hated you.
If killing me will bring you peace, then so be it.
Dohalim, what the hell are you saying?
First, I have business to take care of. If it's vengeance you seek, I will grant you it. But you must wait. My sins are legion. Let me finish what I came to do. Then you have my word. I will let you do whatever brings you peace.
God, I hate characters like that so much.
Sure, that's it. Run away.
Run
like
away,
always.
just run
You don't
away.
even have the courage to die. No wonder you leave it to someone else.
She's such a caricature of
You're
a
just
person.
a coward.
Then kill him. You're also just a coward. Oh man, watch out. What are you? Are you one of our possibly robots that we programmed or something? Even though in his flashback it was self-defense, but whatever.
Dohalim.
What's that about?
I apologize that you had to witness that.
Another one of our characters that just wants to die.
Is it true? What she said about you killing someone?
Each of us have our pasts. I am no
We've murdered
exception.
millions of people to get here.
Before, back in Menancia, you mentioned having taken a friend's life over the
Regal,
throne.
you killed somebody?
Is that what she meant?
Yeah, well, you gotta be more
The
specific.
mistakes I made there were not my first, and may not be my last. I will say no more.
Oh, okay.
Did you mean what you said? About letting her take your life if she wanted to?
She has more right to my life than anyone.
But you
Why?
can't just...
Whatever happens, I have sworn to put an end to the crown contest and to ensure continued coexistence in Menancia. I have no intention of expiring before I do so. There are far too many questions I still seek answers to. Besides, you have just as much reason to kill me as she does.
Dohalim!
How could you say such a thing?
Some things are best left unsaid.
But you can also say too little. Like giving context. You know, context would be nice. Nothing back here, is there? I assume we can't go too far back, because not here anymore. You're just a coward. Caricature of a person. You murdered Tolgris or whatever. We're supposed to join the orchestra together. I feel guilty about fleeing while there are kids out there fighting. There's no need to worry about them. They come from a higher ranking family than ours. That makes their astrolage stronger than ours. They're simply fulfilling their duty to society as members of the ruling elite. Yeah. That's the way. You have right to my life more than anybody, even though I'm not the one who killed your brother. My ignorance didn't save your brother, but I guess it might as well have killed him. You can kill me too, why not? But I hate you like that. Like, you want to kill me? Then kill me. Because it's him also not owning up to the fact that he murdered that dude. And it probably wasn't even murder because it looked like self-defense to me. And this is crazy. How long is this going to keep on? I don't know. Normally we wouldn't have had orders from the top brass informing all the separate classes what they need to do. I doubt that's happening. The whole chain of command in this city seems like it's broken down. Nobody knows what's happening. That doesn't mean someone somewhere isn't watching our every move. For now, we should see if there's anyone higher ranking and around here. Maybe they'll have an idea about what we should be doing. Yeah, I guess so, huh? Nobody knows anything. It's always up to the people in power. Well, if I don't know what I'm doing, then it's not my fault. The feeding pen is in bad. The feeding pen in bad shape. Who knows how many people have died? What happened to the Zoogles? Don't tell me they broke out. No, luckily we were able to seal them off before they got too far. Not that it does much good when they've escaped in other districts too. If I had to guess, let's say there are a lot of Zoogles running loose throughout Lenegus, and there are a lot more of them than us too. What are we going to do? All our best soldiers are stationed down in Dana. Yeah, I guess they are. Dana, sorry. Yeah, keep going, guys. You almost got it. Any of you guys know how to do earth art? You can just cover it with rocks until the fire suffocates.
beautiful.
Yeah. It must be some sort of rest and leisure area for the locals.
You think?
Apparently it looks just like the other place we
Man,
were
these
in.
Renin sure know how to live it up, don't they?
Is something the matter, Dohalim?
Oh, nothing.
Before I went down to Dana, my friends and I, we used to gather at this very spot.
We
and
loved
play
playing
music
violin together.
Avakir, Faria, and Tarnigan. That was a lifetime ago now.
Tarnigan.
Well, 7 years,
He
but
was the one that Faria mentioned, right?
He was once my dearest, closest friend. As well as Faria's betrothed.
oh man, now we're really interested.
Despite Faria's lower class upbringing, she possesses a tremendous talent for music. Entranced by her playing, I helped her overcome her sense of inferiority and introduced her to Tarnigan and Avakir. It was a time of great joy. 4 people bound only by their love of music, with no care for social standing. Only the next song, the next melody.
So why were you forced to kill your friend? The lingering question.
A friendship based on mutual respect, in a society where everyone is a prisoner to their social class. You really are different, Dohalim.
I suppose it's natural you would see it as strange.
I would have, once. Now, I think the idea of breaking away from society's constraints and choosing your friends based solely on affection is something beautiful that's worth cherishing.
It only took me my
Besides,
whole life.
It was that way of looking at the world that laid the foundations for coexistence in Menancia.
Your praise does me too great an honor. I was merely following the wishes of my own heart. And even then, it only lasted until the crown contest began. After that, Tarnigan and I became fierce competitors for the position of Lord. Tarnigan had fallen for Faria. By becoming Lord, he aimed to wrest her from her humble origins and raise her to the highest echelons of society. But fate was not so benevolent.
What happened?
Tarnigan was no match for me in combat. On a level playing field, he wouldn't have stood a chance. But he was desperate and low on options, and he couldn't stand the thought of defeat.
You mean he resorted to dirty tactics to try to win, right? But then why does Faria think... Wait. Don't tell
Because
me
I
she
never
doesn't
told
know.
her.
How could I tell her? Combined with the trauma of losing her beloved, and by her friend's hand, no less.
She wouldn't believe it.
She would have been devastated.
So instead you let her go on hating you, so she could use that hate as a crutch for her grief?
Yeah, sure, I
That's not the
guess.
same
Whatever
as running
bullshit
away,
reason that
though.
is.
It is exactly the same. Unable to face the loss of my friend and the burden of my duty. Instead, I decried my fate and looked away from what I'd done. As for what happened after, that you already know.
But if you hadn't become Lord, Menancia wouldn't be what it is now. The Danans there would still be suffering under Renan oppression like before.
Shion's right. What other lord would have treated me as you did? Anyone else and I would have
Yeah,
been
you
dead
know if
long
Targaryen
ago.
was good to the
You've
Danans?
saved so
huh?
many people, Dohalim. You saved me. It's thanks to you that I'm here today. So, try not to blame yourself. The burden you've placed on your own shoulders is too much for anyone to bear.
Frank as always. But I shall do my best to heed your advice.
Time to get back to the farm.
Do you think he'll be all right?
Yeah, I think so. He's got Kisara.
And he's responsible for his own
It's
suffering.
important to have
so,
someone like that.
I didn't realize how difficult it is just to be there for someone.
Sometimes just knowing someone's on your side can be enough. And he knows, Shion. I promise he does.
I hope you're right.
Oh man, all
Alpha.
Khazar is watching us, or whatever his name
Yeah.
is.
I never appreciated until recently just how much you were always there to support me.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that little
goes
detail.
both
I'm gonna get
ways.
some more.